Up next, we have our second fastest qualifier for Saturday night's 53rd Annual Bank of America 500, and that is Mark Martin. He drove the number 55, Aaron's Dream Machine Toyota for Michael Waltrip Racing. And Mark, heard you out on pit road doing an interview. Just maybe talk about your race car, their preparation by your race team, and just how that lap felt to you.
Well, golly, all I can tell you is, how grateful I am to still get a chance to strap in something like that and do that. I sure will miss the day when I don't get to do that anymore. Denny stuck his head in the window and asked me before I went out, did I still get, excited about doing this and all that? And I said, hell yeah, just like when I was a kid. My hands shake and I feel the adrenaline and I knew the car was going to be good because it drove so good in practice. We went down in turn one. That was just going so fast, and everything was dragging, scraping, making noises, smoking, and I smelled rubber smoke. I said, man, we are rolling. I knew I was going faster than practice because all that stuff wasn't on the racetrack in practice. So, as I said, I'm so grateful to Aaron's and Toyota for the huge TRD, for the huge commitment that they've made to make horsepower, and to Michael Waltrip, Ken Butler. I don't think Michael takes credit for calling me. I think it was Ken Butler's idea, and this is a special time in my life to get to do this.
Questions for Mark? Right here on the left, we got two.
Mike Embry, Speed.com. Obviously, Mark, the speeds are up tonight, but what made the difference between just a really fast qualifying session and a track record night?
We continue to up the ante on every, the weather was good. Weather was good, but we upped the ante on every single piece of these race cars, from the shock absorbers to the aerodynamics to the horsepower to the drag and the drive line. We continually optimize these things. And when we first started running this car, this COT, it didn't drive very good. And today they drive better than the cars that preceded them. The guys just learned so much with the shocks and the bump stops and everything. And they just keep making more horsepower and more handling, more stip, more grip, more better driving, and we keep going faster and faster and faster.
Are tires then the only thing that can hold you down from going even faster a year down the road?
There's things like tires and aerodynamics and horsepower, but if you don't choke us in some aspect, yes, we will continue on optimum conditions like tonight. We will continue to go faster. We always have. This is off the subject, and I've got to tell one old-timer story. We were at Dover just the other day qualifying, and I don't know, they qualified on the pole 157 or something like that. The first time I went there, they were going on and on and on over the PA system about the new track record, 144 miles an hour. And we will just continue. 20 years from now, if you didn't do things to pull them back, we'd be going 170 at Dover. So, yeah.
Mark, Tom Jensen, Speed.com, just as a follow-up to that, you've been doing this a long time. On a night like tonight, at a track like this, it's so fast. How high is the pucker factor?
For me, it's the same as it always was. And I swear, before I rolled out on the racetrack, I questioned in my mind, do I have it? But when I'm making that lap, it's the same as when I was 22 years old. It's just, that I may feel differently before and after the lap, but during the lap, it's just like when I was a kid. And that's truly, that may be one of the biggest things that I miss, when I don't do this anymore, is but, the car has everything in the world to do with it. And, I can't go fast without a car. So I have to give those guys credit on the 55 team. I want to point out to all you guys, and you need to take note of this, they have almost won with 3 different drivers. They almost won last week, Talladega. And they've almost won. They were so close winning with Vickers at Bristol. If he would have cleared Carl for that pass for the lead, I think he would have won. And, we've had a couple of shots to win. So give them credit. Give them credit. I'm so proud of them and love so much working with that organization and those people there.
Mark, Steve Reed, Associated Press. It's come Saturday night. It's been a long time since there hasn't been an Earnhardt in a race. Can you talk about how strange that'll feel?
Well, it's incredibly sad. Anytime that you have to have something like this, but especially with Dale Jr., how hard he has worked to get back in the chase and to become a contender. I saw it firsthand. His commitment to get there, and I feel really bad for him. And obviously, there were Earnhardts in the races before I got here, and have been ever since. So yeah, that's a tough one for our sport. But on the positive side is it's not, he'll be back in 2 weeks, and it could be worse. So I want to look at the positive side of it.
Other questions? David had one, and then Jim Utter.
David Newton, ESPN.com. Mark, you had a stretch here one time where you 13 top 10s, 3 wins, and 14 races, and your worst finish was 12th. Then you go on a streak of 6 races where you don't even have a top 10 and some 30s. What happens when you feel like you own a track and all of a sudden it kind of disappears from you for a while? What happens there? What changes?
A lot of things change. A lot of times it might be a rules change, for example, or it could be a luck change. When you're looking at that on black and white, you don't see that the engine's broke or that you ran out of gas. It became a fuel mileage race and you ran out. It doesn't show the excuses. And, when you're on a roll, you're on a roll. I mean, there's no better example of that than Tony Stewart. He was ho-hum through the season and unstoppable, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, Tony won. I was running at Martinsville 21st, and he was running. We swapped back and forth all day long, running in the 20s. He and I'd pass him, he'd pass me. I'd pass him. And the next thing I knew, he won. I mean, sometimes it just happens. But there's all kinds of circumstances. Rule changes, tires change. The magic goes, We had some magic in 2009. It was amazing. All those 5 wins, every one of them, I could look at every one of those 5 wins in 2009, and something could have prevented us from winning any of those. And I could have won 0. It's just we had that magic. It's awesome.
Jim Utter.
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. As a follow-up kind of to your comment about, in reference to Denny Hamlin's remarks, is one of the reasons, I'm just curious, is one of the reasons why you're here today at Career Start 850 is because you still feel the way you do when you get out of the car each and every week in reference to what Denny asked you about? If you didn't feel that way, would you not want to be here?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't, because I wouldn't get the performance. I'm still, I'm still as fiery a competitor as I was the first time I came here in 81. In some ways, I'm better than I was in 1981. In some ways, I'm not as good. I work with what I have, just like I was the first time I came here. I was working with what I had, and now I have a set of circumstances that I work with all the passion that I have. I love racing, and if I was racing for 30th or 25th, I wouldn't be here tonight. But, you know, I somehow or another, you know, I've been blessed to be in great race cars, and I've managed to be able to do what I do, and there's no reason, you know, there's been no reason to quit, you know, based on all those factors. It's the fire, it's the desire. I will compete. When I don't drive race cars anymore, I will compete. You know, that's a little bit why I like lifting weights. Every day I go in the gym, I'm competing against myself, you know. It's that way. I will find a way to compete. I just, gosh, it won't be like this.
Al?
Yeah, Mark Al Pierce from Auto Week. Jeff Gordon was in here a while ago, and he admitted that if he were within a race or two of winning the championship, and he knew he had a concussion, he wouldn't tell a soul. That he would suck it up and drive the last 2 or 3 races, if necessary, to win. Are you in that same camp?
I read that on Twitter, and I probably, for the good of everyone, should just not even go, you know, comment, really. I hate the day when somebody like the doctor tells you whether you can or can't. You know, I'm old school. You know, I didn't come from that. And we've approached that, and it will get worse as we go forward, and that's not my favorite thing. You know, I like to be the one that makes the call on that. And I think from all I read, what Junior said, I think he didn't get to make that call. And we're kind of approaching that in the sport today, and as we go forward, it will get even more like that. That's not my favorite change in the sport, you know. So in all our best interests, I think that's about as far as I want to go about on that subject.